Alrighty then, corn children, children of the corn. It is integration by parts, the day of theory. This is part 1. All right, here's the gig, people. We are going to be doing integration. We're going to be doing integration of a product, and so far we don't have a product rule for integration. Well, to come up with the product rule for integration, we actually start with the product rule for the derivative, because after all, this is just the antiderivative, yeah? Okay, so here we have a product of two functions of x. U is a function of x, v is a function of x, and I'm taking the derivative with respect to x. You know the product rule. First times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. Okay, so we're going to start here. This is an equation. It can be manipulated like any equation can. So the first thing I'm going to do, and just roll with it here, I'm just going to turn this whole thing over on its head. I'm going to put the left on the right, right on the left. There's a reason. Just play along. Hey, come on. Oops, this has a dx. All right, so now, there it is. First derivative of the second, second derivative of the first. I have an equation. I am going to integrate both sides with respect to x. Now, on the left, there are two terms separated by a plus. I'm going to separate these. We don't always do this, but it's going to be necessary to clean this up properly. And then here's the second term. Whoops, it's in red. And over here, same thing. All right, so now we're going to look at what we have. All right, first of all, these dx's do indeed cancel. I know, it's just freaky. So here's what I have. I have the integral of u times dv, all right, plus the integral of v, these cancel, times du, equals. Now on the right side, get this. We are taking the antiderivative with respect to x of the derivative with respect to x. Those will undo each other, and we just have u times v. What? I know. One more thing I want you to do here. I'm going to take this term, this is an equation, I'm going to subtract it over to the other side. So this, over here. All right, so this becomes u times dv equals u times v minus, because it's coming over, the integral of v du. Now, while you don't know it yet, this is what you're going to need to memorize. This is what we're going to work with. And you're like, I don't see it. I know. Take a look over here on the left side of the equal sign. What we have here is a product. We have a product of u and dv. This is where our problems will start. Our problems will start with a product, and we will have to make a choice. What factor are we going to call u, and what part or factor are we going to call dv? Now, that choice is going to enable us to rewrite the problem, hopefully into something that we can actually integrate. So the hard part, and it is a challenge, choosing what to let u equal and what to let dv equal. So here's how we make the choice. First priority number 1, let dv equal the most complicated thing factor, not thing, that you know how to integrate. That is priority one. So when you look over here, you're going to have two factors or multiple factors, but you're going to have to separate it into two parts. DV being the most complicated thing you do know how to integrate. And then as a secondary priority, because sometimes you're going to be able to work both of these priorities, but as a secondary priority, let U equal the factor that becomes simpler with the derivative, with its derivative. All right? Yeah, I know, you're still fuzzy on it. Now, after we pick the dv and the du, that's how we begin this process. We are going to have to find u and v and du. What? All right. I'm going to do an example with you. Hopefully this will become a little bit more clear. And don't worry, if it doesn't become clear, there's not only going to be a part 1, but there's probably going to be a part 2 and maybe even a part 3. I know, it's crazy. Take a look with me. All right, here we go. We are going to integrate x e to the x with respect to x. It is a product. Do you see that? It's not a plus. No, it's a product. This is not a basic integration. So we are going to use integration by parts. Okay, so this part right here, according to our little formula, is the u dv, and we need to turn it into uv minus the integral of v du. So we need to choose a u and a dv. We actually start with the dv. Now, 2 lines here, people. 2 lines. Think 2 lines. On the second line, lower down, I'm going to write a dv equals. On the top line, higher up, and on the left, I'm going to write a u equals. Choosing dv comes first. dv is the most complicated thing we know how to integrate. Well, I can integrate x. That's just x to the first. I can integrate e to the x. E to the x is more complicated. It's an exponential. All right, so I'm going to write here e to the x and the dx. U is going to be the x. Please notice that with this choice, everything is accounted for. There's nothing missing. Now, here's where this gets crazy. In order to figure out what v will equal, we are going to integrate up. What? I'm going to take and integrate both sides of this. Yeah. If you integrate dv, you get v. If you integrate e to the x, you get e to the x. Hold off on that constant of integration, technically e to the x plus c, but we're going to wait on that. Do you see it? I just did a little baby integration problem within our integration problem. I know. Now what about here? Well, if we have the u, we need the du. Derivative down, people. This is like our plain u du's. If I take the derivative of u, I write du, the derivative of x, 1 dx. Crazy. I pick a u, I pick a dv. I integrate this one, I take the derivative of this one. I now have all 4 of these little terms. We are going to rewrite the original problem, the original u dv, as uv minus the integral of v du. All right, so here we go. Here's the original problem again. This was the u dv. We let this be the u, and this was the dv. We rewrite it as uv. This is u, this is v, x e to the x, minus the integral of v du. Here's v, here's du. I don't have to write times 1, but I do have to write the dx. Would you look at this? This is a basic integration. This is something I know how to integrate. I don't have to do anything crazy with that. Integrate e to the x, get e to the x. Bring this term down. Bring the minus down. E to the x. Now put on your plus c. Integration by parts, theory, part 1.